Praise the Almighty, brothers and sisters across the world striving to stay in the kingdom. Keep your heart, keep your name in the book of life. Thank all those that's trying to be in the body, making those steps, whether towards repentance, whether towards baptism, whether towards making that commitment that you're going to go all the way, be married to the Almighty. I'm here again, the place of tranquility, where you study and train the things of the Almighty. This is my domain. But anyways, just want to, give some words of exhortation or give some words of encouragement that when the people of the Almighty was in the wilderness, I was talking to sister about this Sabbath night. When they were in the wilderness and it was hot, they had to live in tents. There wasn't food all the time, and there wasn't water all the time, and they were in what they feel is a wilderness. They were in adversity, a mild case of adversity, because it's not like you had a house. It's not like you could build a gate and have sheep and set up shop. Pretty much, you had to dwell in tents, and when the cloud moved, you moved. When the pillar moved, you moved. And so they got frustrated and they complained, and they didn't realize that the Almighty was with them the whole time. In the midst of adversity, He's with you the whole time. And so they complained, and He gave them manna, and they complained, and He gave them quails and killed them because of that. And they complained, and they gave them water. He gave them water many of times. And they didn't forget. They forgot about the plagues. And they forgot about the Red Sea. And they forgot about the clouds and the pillar at night. And they didn't realize that He was by their side the whole time. He didn't realize that their clothes didn't wax old, And that when they came out, there was no feeble. Everyone was healthy. There was no one on a cane. There's no one had palsy or leper. That was a leopard, had leprosy. And I say that now because if we're not careful, sun's in my eyes. If we're not careful, we will go through adversity and we will get discouraged. It'll affect our production. It'll affect how efficient we are in growing in the Almighty. Whether some people get depressed, whether some people get angry, whether some people get incontent. We let these adversities come and forget the main fact that the Almighty is with us. And yeah, you may have, it says it's impossible that offenses must come. The Almighty called the apostles to go preach that gospel. And some of them got killed. And some of them got thrown in prison. And some of them got stoned and shipwrecked and left for dead. And they did go through adversity to where they had to preach from house to house. And they couldn't always openly go to the synagogue and preach the gospel. Yes, there was adversity. But the Almighty was with them and the gospel still grew. And that's the thing with our life is you got to understand that it's impossible that offenses must come, but the Almighty is with you. If you're diligent on the things of the Almighty and you're His child, He is with you, even unto death. Even unto death, you might get in a situation where, hey, you know what? You're going to glorify the Almighty in your death. And hey, take it. You may glorify the Almighty in a strong deliverance. And amen, you take it. Because regardless, we belong to the Almighty. There's some people like Daniel that got saved from the lion's den. He got saved from the lion's den. And there were some prophets that got killed in Jerusalem and got slain and got sawed asunder. And so regardless of the fact that the Almighty was able to be a deliverer. And so with that said, keep standing, keep pressing. I remember this one time I'm going down this hill, so bear with me. This one time when I first came to the Almighty, and I didn't know. I was still kind of gangbanging, still drinking, all that stuff. But when I started repenting and started coming up higher, I found myself living in a car, because I stopped selling ecstasy and, I didn't make as much money because, I did it the legal way, and I had this little job, only made like $8 an hour. And I started I started living in my car because I didn't want to go to my mom's house, because it's like, man, I'm a man and I got to pave my own way and I got to learn how to be a man. So my mom wanted to, oh, I got you, Now how mothers is, they want to just protect their son, their only son. And it's like, no, I got to learn the hard way. Give me time, I'll get a job and I'll find a better job and I'll get it together. And so I was in a car and, I was broke and I was hungry, didn't have no money in the bank account. And I cried before the Almighty like, hey, Almighty, look at all these sinners out here. This is before I knew it says, envy not the wicked, And better is a little that a righteous man has than the treasures of many wicked. I didn't know, I wasn't that verse in the scriptures at that time. So I cried before the Almighty. My socks were so hard and they were rubbing off the skin. My boss said, hey, if you come to work smelling like that again, I'm sending you home. And I had to get a membership at the gym just to take showers, and it was pretty bad. And then this is when I started repenting from gangbang and everything. I had to take the hit, lost some money, everything. I couldn't make it the wicked way. I got to make it the righteous way. By the sweat of your brow, I had to hustle. And so I cried before the Almighty, and I was like, Almighty, I'm sitting here trying to serve you, and I'm like starving. I'm hungry. I don't have nothing. I'm living in my car. It's cold because the back window was out of this blazer. The back window was busted. And I was like, man, I didn't have nothing. I didn't realize at that time, I didn't complain. I didn't charge the Almighty foolishly. I didn't curse God in my heart or anything or sin with my mouth. But I just didn't understand. I'm like, Almighty, I don't understand. I'm thinking if you obey your commandments and your statutes, your judgments, your precepts, and your ways, then in theory, then you'll bless the works of my hand, because I read about all these promises. But it seems like, maybe the sun's blocking it, but it seems like man, I'm just suffering, I'm suffering. And I realized that the Almighty was there the whole time, and from there I got a better paying job, and it brought me to $15 an hour, and then I ended up hustling and getting a guard card. I ended up moving with my sister, and then I took over the place while she left, got a 2-bedroom for my daughter. Then I ended up getting my guard card, did security part-time. Then I ended up selling supplements. And I ended up getting the sheet metal trade and becoming an apprentice. I ended up starting my own moving company, ended up journeying out, making $36 an hour now, But I realized from me serving the Almighty 11 plus years ago to now, he raised me from the dunghill, and I was living in my car. Now I had my own, I just sold the business, but I had my own moving company employing like 5-6 employees at any given time. And I had the power to employ people, put money in people's pockets. I had the power to, when I see a homeless person, I say, hey, you want to work? You want to hand out flyers? And give them an opportunity to work. It said, man would not work, neither shall he eat. And so I thank the Almighty, because through these whole 11 years, yeah, it was tough and it was hard. And we had setbacks with different things and cars getting impounded and blowing motors. And I had major setbacks and adversity for standing for the gospel. Lost a relationship with my mom and my dad because I don't observe Christmas and I keep the commandments, and I don't give in to the American custom and the American way. And I don't look at the Bible from American eyes. I look at the Bible from biblical eyes or Hebrew eyes. And because this gospel was given to Hebrews, and it was a book for Hebrews, and the Gentiles got in through disobedience, but it was still sent to my people, to Hebrew Israelites. And all people that read that Bible need to understand that the Hebrew culture is different than the American culture. So stop trying to make the Bible conform to the American lifestyle, and you be a proselyte and convert to the Hebrew, the biblical culture. And so I'm not going to say Judaism, because these false European-looking Jews that occupy Israel right now, no, not these false people, but to the Hebrew, true Hebrew Israelite culture. So my main point is, even in the midst of adversity, the Almighty's with you. You may not see an actual cloud in the sky, and you may not see an actual pillar, but He's with you. He's with you. And He sees when you cry, and He sees when you laugh, and He sees when you're broke, and He sees when you mathematically don't produce more money than the bills you have. He sees these things. He sees when you have a little bit of money and you still help out a homeless person even though you're struggling yourself. He sees when you go out of your way to pick up someone or to drop off someone so they can seek the gospel, or when you buy a Bible for someone so they could come up higher, that a chance they might be saved. When you give someone a card, He sees what you do. It says, be not weary in well doing, because you'll reap if you faint not. And so with all that said being done, keep standing. Don't drop standards in the midst of adversity. David said, I look up to the hills from whence my help come from. You know, he's there for you. He's there. He's our great comforter, our great counselor. He's there in the time of need. You know, he, like that song, it says, he may not come when you want him to, but he shows up right on time. And that's true, because you want him to show up like super early and give you $1 million and do all this stuff. He does exactly what you need when you need it. With all that said being done, keep standing. Don't drop standards. Shalom.